enough to kill half the force. There was only one little horse guy over here left.
To capture you being a goober at the very beginning of all these.
General's dead. Nothing's gonna change. We're not getting out of here alive. Like you're all gonna die. Good riddance to you.
It's a pretty dark intro, buddy.
Ah. So I killed though 346 of their guys to my 113.
It's not getting any
But
less dark.
I had 124 guys total. They had 833. I killed 346 of theirs.
It's
That's what you get for going on a crusade.
you can't say crusade anymore.
You can't play the card.
True.
Okay. I got slaughtered.
You lost your crusade?
Oh yeah, the Pope called a crusade. I thought it was cool. I'd send some guys over. I did. Then my ships who were going to get reinforcements and pick them up to take them back so they could actually take the city we were trying to crusade against, got sunk. So no reinforcements ever showed up. And that was the result right there. No one's
What's the
showing
difference
up.
between a crusade and a regular war? I thought the crusade had some religious implications, like by
Yes.
default.
Yeah, the crusade is you have to take back the Holy Land against these
Ah, you were invading the Holy
heretics.
Land. I get it.
Right. And
Mm,
being England in 1300,
it's
kind of
their
what you did, right?
it's their favorite thing, huh?
And correct me if I'm wrong here, I could be very wrong, but a jihad is a crusade from the other point of view.
I think yeah, I think that word has a lot of uses, but
A
that's
lot of uses for sure, but
that's the one that we cling
in
to over
in
here in the
in
West.
the game, in the game, uh, they say they declared a jihad against a specific city instead of a crusade against a specific city if you're playing as that faction.
Hmm.
So you can play the Moors, you can play just a bunch of guys. So one thing I hate is the Pope keeps telling me that I need to stop killing other Christians. So
I
I have to
mean,
just stop attacking the French and the Poles, and they can attack me all they want. But if I attack, then I get excommunicated, and that's all bad thing. So is this our intro? Is this what we're gonna start off with?
we have a solid 3 minutes of you finishing up your Total War Crusade. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I guess that's kind of the point, isn't it? No. Cool. Well, with that, a little bit of universe and everything. Let's get into the magic.
Hmm.
Um,
That's what
we are
we're
your
here for.
we are your hosts, Jeremy and Scotty. Scotty Lou, Scotty G, Scotty Nobody, Vic Fan for Fadi Madi. Today we are going to, yeah, you heard me. We are going to talk about power levels. This was one where we did talk about it not too way back when we first started, before we
It's a
had
long time ago.
any actual. Now I feel like we're like, what, we know what we're doing 20% with this. Before it was like 2%. We did it
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. I'd agree with
Um,
that assessment.
right. So we talked about power. Honestly, I thought it was a really good discussion overall, right? Um, Next slide.
I think so. I think it
That's your-
was.
So, there's a lot that goes into power level, right? And I know Scotty over here has a lot to talk about power level. Um, but we're gonna generally kind of go into the generally accepted measurements and then just how we would measure power levels of decks and then what we would look at, what we think. Those could be two separate bullet points there, I think. Um, Then we'll go into problems with the power level scale. I think what those honestly could be how to measure and problems with how we measure, right? So these are all kind of interconnected in one kind of discussion, one kind of mush. But at the end, I believe, and this kind of came out organically in our last discussion, but we wanted to include it in this one. And it was Scott's thought, not mine. I don't want to take credit for this, but we're going to talk about a possible solution. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it for sure.
I can feel my heart rate rising.
So after this, if you listen to this, the thousands of you that do, uh,
All
you will
four
now
of you.
know thousands, 4,000, 40,000. You mean? You will know um, how to talk to your friends, family, relatives at Thanksgiving, and total strangers on the street about power level scales,
Mm.
right? All right.
You could try. You can
Next
definitely
up.
try.
I've tried to talk to strangers on the street about magic, and it's they don't
Doesn't
seem to
doesn't
like
go
it.
well. They don't take to it
But
super well.
you know why though? It's because I haven't listened to this episode of our podcast, and I just don't know how to really address it. They hear about this 1 to 10, and they dismiss it, right?
You've heard me
Um,
rant about this enough.
so here is and we have a fun little some graphics next. But kind of like the 1 to 10 power scale, right? Where 1 to 2 is you're more interested in the theme than winning. A 3 to 4, and there's a lot of these different kind of scales, right? You'll see in the graphics. 3 to 4, you're trying to win, but with limited resources. But like actually play the game. You're not trying to win with like as little mana as possible, right? You yourself have limited resources. 5 to 6, they're talking about powerful cards and interactions, but no combos. 7 to 8, lots of combos and game enders with powerful cards, but we're not talking CDH. 8 to 10, push decks, looking to win fast, top tier. And then I actually down below, it's not a 1 to 10 scale, and you'll see this again later. And Scott, you can comment on this as much as you want. We'll
Hmm.
talk about this too, right? Because I think just reading it, I have a little bit of a interesting thoughts. But there's a not a numbered scale, but just like a jank to casual to powerful to CDH. Right, 5 categories that we're talking about. Um,
Hey, there's some feedback coming from your mic. Did something change over there?
uh, Give
It's
me
be-
one.
It's
Oh
better
yeah, so
now.
the computer moved. It's better now.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
For like a second there, every time you started talking, it was all fuzzy.
if you didn't notice, the room is different that I'm in.
I do notice there's no Legos.
That changed. The mic's the same though. Mic's the same though. So like right off the bat, right? Like 5 to 6. I'm looking at 5 to 6, right?
Mm. We should just go.
Powerful card interactions, right? So that's talking about decks with synergies. Honestly, that describes a lot of the decks that I've made. People say, well, it's a 7, but like I would say, Urza, the Sultai one, no, the Esper one that I made is a deck with powerful card interactions. There's no combos, but that's a 5 to a 6 on that scale, right? And I built it as to be like a casual kind of deck.
It's happening again. I don't know what's changing on your end.
What
Maybe
kind
it's
of
on my
feedback?
end. It just sounds fuzzy when you start talking. There's
Hmm.
but not always.
It might be the fan.
You're talking when the fan's passing by you. That would do it.
How does that? Is that better?
Better for now. We'll see.
Better for now. Cool. So
So,
like again, that 5 to 6 right there.
what's the
Powerful card
difference
interactions. What's that?
between what's the difference between a powerful card interaction and a combo?
Um, a card that makes big tokens. So right, what's the difference? Where does that line between a synergy and a combo, right?
Well,
Like,
not even the line, but what's the significance, right? So if we're saying that this is like a mid-power game, right?
Mhm.
And I make, you know, 6 10 10 tokens. That's going to end the game, right?
Should, right? Yeah, I mean it's definitely, yeah.
but that's probably a powerful card interaction. It's no different from a game standpoint than me going, I don't know, name a combo. I mean, it's definitely different than me being like, oh, I'll Thassa's Oracle or I'll like Magecraft combo. Like, obviously, those are like CEDH tier combos, but there's
Mhm.
thousands of combos that can end the game. And, people split hairs over the word
Right,
combo, but
right.
I could show you an interaction that does the same thing.
So
Like,
would you consider like Anointed Procession and a card that makes tokens? Is that a combo or is that just a powerful card interaction?
that's a powerful card interaction, but the significance of that
Hmm.
is the same, right? The situation is not any different. Like, if you resolve an anointed procession and then proceed to make a construct, like, you're probably going to win, right? How hard is it
Right.
to win with a couple of 14/14s out? And it doesn't matter how good your other artifacts are.
With Menace. They have those are they have Menace.
Like, maybe you didn't make them from Urza Chief whatever or, Urza Saga, but you made them somehow, and they're going to end the game because you're playing at a 5 or a 6, and that means there's probably no Wrath of Gods, right? There's probably no.
There might be, like
There
if we're playing
might be,
power
but there's
successful level, you're playing a couple of board wipes. You could think that that happens.
maybe.
Those
But
board
you're
wipes
also
in the
not playing
casual levels,
any
right?
tutors to go find them. You're not playing any of the powerful draw spells to find them, right? Like all of the stuff that makes it likely that I always have a sweeper in my hand, you don't have at a 5 or a 6. So your powerful card interaction is the same as a combo.
It's equivalent too.
It's
And what
equivalent
is it?
to.
But if I go and I play, so on this scale here, 5 to 6, I'm playing these powerful card interactions, and I play, I'm playing a 5, and then I go up against an 8, who does have those combos. And then one thing that's not on here that you just mentioned with the tutors, right? So 5 to 6, I think in this case, we're maybe not playing a lot of tutors, maybe limited tutors. That's
Almost.
one of the big problems with this particular scale right here, right? It doesn't address tutors.
Well,
It
I
doesn't
mean,
address fast mana.
that's another
But
point
so
too.
so if we're at a 5 playing against an 8 on this scale, is that powerful card interaction that you're saying would have the same impact, right? It's the same significance.
No.
Really have
No.
that same significance as an 8 with the combo?
No.
Okay.
No, that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to
Okay.
say is that people will like I could sit down
Hmm.
and let me what's a combo? I don't know. I played a bunch of them, but I tend to play better
Yeah,
combos.
when it's not a CDH combo, right? So like not,
Like
what's
so so not that this is a great example, right? Because my grist deck is pretty good, but like the Agatha Soul Cauldron grist counter creature plus having like a Kozilek in it. Like it's like a
some
four.
combo drop into sport mode, some combo there with the plus
Yeah,
one counter.
it takes 4 cards, right? And I have to exile my commander, like forever, right? It's not a good combo,
Right.
right? But it is a combo, and it does end the game, like then, right away.
Right.
Okay,
So that's
so
so that's I think also one thing here is does the so I mean we're talking about different power we're getting into the power level of the combo, right? Does it
yeah,
end the game when
basically,
you take 4 cards? Because
like
what's one combo? Making infinite mana in general, right? Would that be at a 7 or 8 or a 5 or a 6?
no,
Because making infinite mana doesn't end the game,
it depends on how you're making it. I mean, if you're
right?
making it with I don't know. Like if you're making it with World Gorger Dragon and Animate Dead, that's a higher power level infinite mana combo.
Sanctum Weaver, Freak Reveal.
It's a higher like I mean 2 card combos like almost by default are going to be higher up on the scale.
I
I'm
agree.
talking
Yes.
like there's no point in drawing a hard line against all combos. But that's what people do. That's what people do, right? That's what they do when they say, "Oh, we're playing a casual game, so no combos." And all I hear is like, "This game's gonna take fucking forever."
Forever. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the only thing I
No,
hear. And if it doesn't take forever, then that means that somebody else did some
somebody's
powerful
control.
card interaction that was essential, like that was in like you couldn't separate it from a combo. Only by like technically describing the difference would it be different.
Right.
But in effect, it did the same thing. Like if you
But
win
that
on turn 6 in a 5 or 6 power
in that
game,
scale, in that scale, it did the same thing as a combo. But then if you sat down in a game where no one else was playing combos and you were, it would have less impact, right? Because I wouldn't end the game right there, and then the next player could go and just win with their combo.
yeah, but that's the that's like that's where people are drawing the line at like winning on the spot.
Yeah.
But a lot of the powerful card interactions that people are comfortable with for whatever reason do the same thing, except we might have to sit there for another half an hour. You know what I mean? Like
Like,
when your Adeline deck gets going, or when your enchantment deck gets going, if we assume that you take out all of like the infinite combos,
why would I
right?
do that?
You wouldn't, but let's assume,
Yeah.
right? So that
Okay.
we can fall into this world here. If you take out the Earthcraft and the the one that exiles everything and bounces itself and all that good stuff. It's got fading. I don't remember the name of the card.
Oh, Parallax Wave and Opalescence. Yeah,
Yeah,
great line.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If we cut all those from your deck, right? Like once the enchantment deck starts doing its thing, even without the infinite combos, the game is over. But it's going to take you forever to finish it because you have to draw most of your deck. You have to play all of your enchantments. You have to make all of your tokens. And then you have to pass the turn. And then it's got to
Mhm.
come back to you. And then you got to attack. And you got to figure out your attacks. And you got to make sure nobody has like a fog or some shit
Mhm.
that's
I
just
think
going to
another
make it take
another
another half an hour. But you won. You
another
won an
good
hour ago.
example of that is an Atraxa Super Friends deck, right?
Yeah.
I played
Once.
last Friday, Sunday. Played on Sunday. Um, and I was gonna pull out my Atraxa Super Friends deck, had like a an easy game, and people had problems with it, so I pulled out Adeline instead. But then the guy next to me ended up playing his Atraxa Super Friends
Mm,
deck, and he was doing a thing where no infinite combos, just
don't need them.
took 3 extra turns. He
Casually.
altered that one to Fury, right? And as I knowing this deck because I play it and I have the same Teferi in my deck. I'm sitting there going like, and I said this, we lose in a half an hour
Yeah, it's over.
because we
Like
do.
just
I mean, you don't take 3 extra turns in a Planeswalker deck or 3 turns in a row in a Super Friends deck and not win.
but like then you gotta be
But it
like, I don't
takes
want to
a while,
concede. Like I don't like conceding, but
right?
then you
I
have
know I
then
didn't. No one did,
and
but
like
it's
I don't
just
want to be
like
the only person to concede. Like because then I just have to sit there and it.
right.
So like if that was just a combo that
Yeah.
ended the game, we could play another game, right?
So
That's
in that case, put on this power scale, right? Like that would be considered a 5 or a 6. When you sit down with that deck, like if I sit down with my, I do have like 2 infinite combos in the Traxxas deck. One's 3 cards, yeah, and the other one's 2, but I don't win the game on the spot, right? Um, but I can't sit down and say that's a 6. I got a shop. People would not agree with that.
well, Trax is
Okay.
like the most popular commander
Right.
of all time. So
And
yeah,
it's just, there's a story behind mine in particular
yeah.
that makes it unique.
But I mean
We don't go into it
that's
now.
higher than a
But
five
you
or a
can't,
six
but
for
you,
different reasons. But
right. But you
the
still can't sit down. Like if you, like, according to this scale, right? Powerful card interactions, no combos. It'd be super easy. I swap out 2 walkers in that deck.
yeah,
No more infinite combos. And it's not a 5 or a 6. Like it's at least, I don't think it's an 8 on this parallel, but it's not a 5 or a 6.
right.
And nobody's going to say that.
So
And I definitely wouldn't consider that deck a casual, like on the scale below there, giant casual, powerful CDH. Like I would consider that deck to fall into the powerful range,
hmm
right? So that's I think what you're talking too about, right? With these powerful card interactions, where like my Urza deck, like in our play group, my Urza deck, the Esper one, I would sit down and say, this is a casual deck. There's no combos in it. Um, it wins over time. But like if I take it up to the store, and last time I took it to the store, I did lose, right? But people would consider it maybe a powerful deck, at least on the giant casual powerful scale here. It's a strong deck. Like I said, like Anointed Procession is in there. I'm making a bunch of constructs. I've got a bunch of good interaction. I have the Esper Sentinel. I have Smothering Tithe. I have Ethos-1 Canonist. So I have all these really powerful cards in the deck. There's just no combos, and there's limited tutors, right? And no fast mana. But we'll get into that in a second. Um,
Well,
I
yeah.
think if we go to the
So,
next slide, we can see a
well, hold on.
couple
We gotta,
different.
we got a couple more levels to go over here first,
All right,
because
all right.
I have opinions
Have opinions.
that will
You're allowed
preface
to, I
the
guess.
rest of this, right? So,
Okay.
level one and two, more
No.
interested in theme than winning. Now, I agree with your description. I just, I, I don't get it, right? This is a commonly held belief, right? If you
Mhm.
spend any amount of time on like the Reddit EDH sphere, is that like for whatever reason, like trying to win in Commander is like frowned upon there.
I hear about,
It's
yeah, a lot of that. Yeah, I hear a lot of people talking about well, how are the other people having fun? And
I don't give a shit.
I like, I get it. I get it.
I
I
I
understand.
I
It's the only game you've played, chance you've had to play in a month and a half, and it's you have an hour and you don't want to sit there and do nothing. But at the same time, and I think I've talked about this before, it's not my responsibility, right?
right. Like it's like like
There's a line.
you have to be somewhat responsible for you having fun. Like people are like always like upset about interaction and counter spells, and they try and like grade like which ones are okay and how many. And like you just gotta build a better fucking deck. Like like I get it. You want to play a deck that's all fucking cats. I get it.
Right.
Okay,
Well, that's
but like
fine. When you sit down, right, you say, I'm playing a deck that's all cats. It is a cat in the art, there's a cat in the name. That's all I can. If it's not there, I can't play it. And then, like, okay, I will pull out my Aragon deck,
right,
which is
right,
multicolored legends. Very strong deck, but it's a very casual deck. It's probably going to beat only cats.
yeah,
But then
right.
don't get upset when I'm pulling that out.
Like, but and then you kill one of their cats and like, oh, now I can't do my thing. Or you kill their fucking Ren and Seri because they're always playing Ren and Seri, which isn't a good commander. And they get all up in arms about it because they just want to play their cats or do their thing. And I'm like, well, fucking play it again. I don't know, put some ramp in your deck. It's not, you know,
All right,
we're
ramp
playing
out,
we're
play there.
we're
Yeah, I get
playing
it. Yeah,
Magic, right? We're not just like goldfishing against each other. And it's
yeah,
like,
that's true.
and then it's
I do.
like I'm trying to win. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to win. What the fuck are you talking about? Of course I'm trying to win. I spent
Let's
like,
go of the game. Game's got to end, right?
I put a lot of time into building this deck. Right, like when I build my decks, right? If I don't want something to die, I put in ways to keep it alive, or ways to reanimate it, or ways to draw cards to like replace it. Like, it's all part of the math. But
Right. So
like
you
at
don't
this,
understand why someone would build a one or a two, or what's
I don't
if you're kind of at the
understand.
power level scale here.
I don't understand. Like, it's not that. Like, I get it. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna build a deck that's all cats, but I get it. If somebody wants to do that, like, that's their thing. I'm not trying to gatekeep the cats deck. I'm
Right.
just saying, like, I can try and match that power level, but like, my deck might be a one or a two, but it's still gonna be solid, right? Like, I'm gonna have a naturalize in my one or a two, and if you're trying to resolve an enchantment, like, I might blow it up. There's
So
nothing unfair about a
that's probably an
naturalize.
interesting question. I think that gets also into our solution later on, which we won't don't spoil yet. Um, just by your deck being solid and well built, I think that doesn't be it goes above a one or a two, right? Like I don't think anybody's building a one or a two really. Like it's which honestly then it's not a 1 to 10 scale, is it? Um, but if you're sitting there and going like I tried to build a one or a two, but the deck is solid, then it's at least a 5, right? Like it's at least good and does a thing. And then
I mean, it
at
might
the same
not.
time, would you say the level of interaction affects the power level of a deck? Because my
Mm-mm.
going back to my Aragon deck, there's
Well,
5 pieces of interaction in that deck. Five
I don't think the amount of interaction should be part of the conversation at all.
at
Interaction,
all.
interaction is magic. Like that's the whole game. Like react or like act, react. That's the whole game, right?
I do,
That's
right?
is magic.
Right. No, that's
Now,
one thing that you play Pokemon. It's 100 times easier because your opponent can't do anything on your turn.
right, there's like types
Play
of
that
interaction like that you shouldn't play, like depending on the
at the
power
lower power.
level. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't play it or you shouldn't play as much as you think your deck needs to play to win or to do its thing or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Like
Would
like
running less interaction make a deck less powerful, you think?
I don't think it has any I don't think it
Not
has any part of the conversation. I think
okay.
simply put your power level of your deck largely comes down to like the individual cards and then like secondarily it's like what it's trying to do. So like individually we can agree that demonic tutor you shouldn't play at
Well, let's
yeah
okay. So
well
so let's
let me
go to the next.
finish.
Let's go to the next slide here because then we can talk about individual cards and how they affect power level and then interact with just the theme of the deck, right?
Okay,
No, we could same conversation, just different style. I don't know if you can read these here, right?
can't read
It
it all.
doesn't look like you can.
That's all right, it's a lot of
So
words, it's not important.
a lot of words, right? So the pyramid here is essentially determining the power level by the turn it wins by, right? Which
This
I
is
again
just the
disagree
worst.
with this a little bit because I won a game on turn six Sunday. The second game I won turn six with a combo. I would not consider that deck an eight, right? Turn
Yeah,
15 plus, I would agree, 4-3, right down at the bottom. 1-2 down here, no identifiable game plan. That's really funny. Um,
outside of
but
the
like
one and twos I don't think this is part of the conversation either.
what turn a deck can win it by?
I mean,
What that
can
is your
win and will
strategy.
win are different. Like,
And your strategy is just to sit there and wait and win.
yeah, I mean,
So you wait for an opportunity to win.
yeah, that's the best way to do it. Uh,
Hands down, best way to do it.
Cause like there's like a lot of those five and sixes will win on turn 5 or 6 if you just like sit there and stare at each other, like
See,
just
I feel like
accidentally.
a 5 or 6, I don't think is gonna win on turn five. Like that is, I mean, honestly, like turn 10, 11, 12, like those are
Turn 10 is a long
good, right?
time. Like turn
Yes,
10
turn
is a
10 the game's gotta
long
end.
time.
Turn 10 game's gotta end, right?
But
That's when
like
you do play the combo finally.
like I don't know. I don't have a great example here, but turn 10
Uh,
is forever, right? Turn 10 turns. That's everybody like that's 40 turns like at the table.
yeah.
And so like if you got like 2 minutes a turn sounds really fast. That's 80 minutes. Like you're already at an hour and a
An
half
hour and a half. But
and
that's not an hour.
that's if but
At a
you
six,
know,
if
you
everybody's
know
playing a power level six, right? You said that okay, well, this is gonna be a long game. An hour and a half, I feel like we've all played those 3 hour long games, right?
right,
Where
but
there's
that's
just
only if each turn
too
takes
much.
2 minutes. You know these
Right.
turns 7, 8, 9, and 10 are each taking like 10 minutes per person, just
Hopefully
because.
not turn 1 through 3 are taking that long.
No, but it's not enough to make up for having to go into the tank and figure out all those blockers. Like a lot of decks will just accidentally win by turn 8 if you're all just sitting there staring at each other, and
Give you that one.
that's
Yeah.
a 7. I don't think
But then
so.
yeah, turn eight, yeah, it's like well, seven here. Yeah, turn I mean a 7 and a 6 could win by turn eight, I think. I just like winning by turn six for my deck, I just think like I because I was turn six, and I don't think it's an eight. I mean, I won with a combo, right?
I mean,
I won with a
sure,
two card combo, but it was like
if you can
I
win
had
turn
too much going
0,
on.
like yeah, like okay, Or like
Yeah,
crick, right? Like regularly wins on turn one or two. Like that's like its thing.
if without interaction, right? Yeah, obviously,
Like I
but
get that why that's high, but once you like technically speaking, Grist can win on turn two. Like it could. It's not going to. It would take like six specific cards. Like, does that make it a nine? No.
right.
Like
That
My Pauper Rocco deck can win on turn two. Is that deck a nine?
so we talked about that, right? Like it's doesn't matter like the price of the cards, I think doesn't matter when it comes into the power level. Like the fact that you're running all commons in that deck doesn't make the fact that you can win on turn two less scary,
No,
less
but it puts into
powerful.
perspective what the cards in my deck are. And I'm just saying it can win on turn two playing nothing of note, right? Like that's how easy it is to win in Magic on turn two is that I can do it with a bunch of commons almost accidentally.
Yeah, so it's so to what you said earlier of it's comes down to the individual cards in your deck and then your overall deck construction. I feel like
You,
we just
you
flipped that, right? It's overall deck construction first, your synergies, how well the deck is built together, then the actual individual cards.
well, I don't think it's how well. I don't think it's how well. I think it's
Okay.
so. I think I can play Demonic Tutor at a four or five. I think I can. I don't see why I
Yeah.
can't. But it's different if I'm searching up a Dockside Extortionist or a land, right? Like I Demonic Tutor for a land in Grist all of the time. It happens.
Right. But your grist is definitely not a four or a
No, that's not
five.
what I'm saying. I'm just saying
Right.
like if you're playing a deck that I would consider a four, and I'm habitually underrating decks, just because you put a demonic tutor in there doesn't suddenly make it a seven.
Correct. I feel I feel that too. Um,
But that is a minority opinion.
go forward two.
Forward two.
Can you go forward two slides without having to click through all the animations? Good. The next one.
This
We'll get to that because we're talking about this right now, right? We're talking about what Scott's talking about, and this was again his analogy that I really liked. Putting a strapping a rocket launcher to a biplane, right? Doesn't make your deck an eight. So having the demonic tutor, having a fierce guardianship in the deck will not make it an eight, right? It's the deck construction. It's that fighter jet there that it's well built, it's well rounded, has good systems, good backup systems, right? Great targeting systems. It's an F-22. Great plane. Um, doesn't matter if you put a rocket that the fighter jet can use onto that biplane. The biplane's still not even going to touch the jet, right?
hmm.
So that's what we're talking about here. So it's not like it's I think it's part of that conversation comes from like someone playing one of the OG dual lands, right? So like, oh, it's a casual game, and they drop a tundra or a savannah,
Oh yeah,
right? Some people freak out, or
I
God
do that all the
forbid, first
time.
turn they have a mana vault or a mana crypt in their deck, and drop that first turn. But it's the only one they have, and the
Yeah,
rest of the time they're playing cats, right?
yeah. Well, like there was a like I spent a lot of time on the EDH subreddit because I'm a masochist in some regards, and
Okay.
there was like people were always complaining about the tutors, right? And how they make games like too samey, too
I'll give you that.
too they increase the power level, they do all this other
Increase
stuff.
the variance. Yep.
Just the existence of tutors and how much more fun it is to have a random experience. And I'm like, there are so many cool things that you can do in Magic, especially that you can do in EDH that you can't do like with any regularity unless you play tutors. Like I was helping a buddy build work on his Peer and Toothy deck today, and he had a bunch of planeswalkers in it. And my first assessment of the situation was like, well, planeswalkers, like just as planeswalkers, aren't really that great in Commander. They're too vulnerable.
They are
They're like a little overcosted for the effect unless they
right.
survive.
They're
Gener-
overcosted, so
Generally speaking, and so like I think you should cut some of these planes. I think he had like 9 or 10 of them, like a lot. And
it's a lot. A lot for not a dedicated planeswalker
yeah,
deck,
but I mean
right?
it had like proliferate, like they would be good in the deck, but like there's like you still that number should probably be like a five. Like just pick like a couple of the best ones. But
Here,
then like I
so
was I was looking through the deck and I like he has Ichor Gauntlet in there, and Ichor Gauntlet is a sweet card. Two and a blue gives all your planeswalkers proliferate, and then -12 to like take an extra turn. Like
yeah.
it's a sweet card. I've played it, I love it,
Mhm.
but it's an
I have it in my
artifact.
back Walker deck right now.
It's an artifact, right? And if you wanna like play it,
With
like
10 planeswalkers in your deck.
if you wanna play it, yeah, when it like yeah, so you need to resolve some planeswalkers. You need to have them stay alive, and then you need to like magically find this Ichor
I need to
Gauntlet
find the gauntlet. Yeah.
just accidentally. Like all this stuff has to line up for you to do this really cool thing that you want to do. And I'm like, well, just fucking like, dude, put a fabricate in there, right? A trophy mage, like, just go
Or
get it.
everything.
Like, like, just
Three tutors in your deck does not make it.
just play tutors. Just play some tutors.
Yeah.
It's not gonna feel samey. You're not gonna be like always like de-tutor for Thassa's Oracle and win the game on turn 3. It's not gonna happen every time.
No.
But like if you find the trophy mage, then you get to do the cool planeswalker thing, and that's awesome because the cool planeswalker thing is cool. That's
Yeah.
my that's
So
my
like
rant about
for I
tutors.
mean yeah, I don't
There's a
agree with the
line.
whole samey things, right?
Yeah.
And I know you were talking about like what interaction shouldn't come into the conversation, and people complaining about how many counter spells you're playing. Is there a number of tutors? Like if I play two or three tutors in a deck, right? I'd still consider that deck casual, right? If I'm trying to just
Well,
find some good cards every now and then. If I'm playing, five, six, seven tutors, 10 tutors, that increases that would increase. I mean, again, it still depends on what I'm looking for. Like, am I just going to use those 10 tutors to go get lands? Um,
I mean, if you're playing 10
but
tutors, it probably feels pretty samey. Like maybe,
right.
but
It doesn't affect the power level of the deck. Like, it's obviously like we're talking about these individual things
depends.
separately,
It's
right?
still
So
it
like,
still only depends on what you're getting. For me,
right.
I don't because I mean, first of all, I am not a person that gives a shit about the sameness of my decks. Okay, I love it. I'm trying to fucking win. Okay, and I play the same deck over and over again until I know it like the back of my hand. And it doesn't matter how it plays out; it feels samey because I've done it 100 times. You
Right.
know,
That's the
I've
idea.
looked at it from all the angles. Like I know what's happening with the cards in my hand. So, however random you want to call it, like it's not random to me. I see 6, 7 cards. I know where I'm going. I know what the plan is. As soon as you interact with me and change the math, I already know what the plan is because I've seen it before. No matter what I do, it's going to feel samey to me. Okay, it
Right.
doesn't matter
But
how
that's
many
yeah,
tutors are in
that's not
there.
a consideration for you. But like, is it like, how many tutors are you running in your regular deck? Like in
Mm,
Grist, how many are there? We'll ask that. How many tutors, offhand? You can
offhand,
ballpark it. It doesn't have to be like,
oh no, we can get this. We got the technology for this.
all right. So for me, right, like it's we've been talking about all these things separately, right? So like the launchers on the biplane, right? We've talked about interaction, right? So what kind of interaction? We've talked about tutors, right? A casual deck can run two or three tutors and still be a casual deck, right? You're throwing the rocket launcher on a biplane. Um, we haven't talked about fast mana yet. And if you want to go back a slide,
I will. Give
um,
me a second.
yeah, you got to go back to the screens. um,
I'm still
right, any
counting.
one of these cards does not
Six,
make your deck,
seven.
even two or three of them, right? Does not make your deck samey. It doesn't make your deck inherent. to a degree, yes, it makes it more powerful, right? You put one tutor in your deck. Your deck, yeah, now has the ability to go, you know, there's twice. It's 100% more chance that you can go find your best card in that deck, right? Because now there's two of them.
Well,
So it
that's
does make
that.
the
Wait,
deck a
but
little
hold on.
bit better.
You just stepped on something there because
Did I step on something? All right.
no, I mean that was just
Right.
the
No, yeah,
best way I
no,
could
going
get.
like so like
That's
you
what
put
everybody
in
jumps to, right? They
a
always say
soul ring
like,
and you put in a mana crypt. Now you have two cards in your deck that will up your mana, right? You have a again 100% more chance of getting that first turn fast mana.
no, I get that. I agree with that. That wasn't the thing.
Okay.
Like you said, like now you have a better chance to go search for your best card,
Mm-hmm.
which is which is sort of like the point that people always key on,
There's only one card you go get,
but it's
so
not
that's
how
where the
it
savings
plays out
comes from.
in reality, right? Like
Correct.
I turn one Green Sun Zenith for Dryad Arbor. Dryad Arbor is not the best
All the
card in my
time.
deck. Not the best card. It's just like a great turn one play for me. Like that's fine.
Mhm.
Or and I demonic tutor for a land all the time because Grist is pretty land light. I fit a lot into that deck. I have to go get a Haywire Might regularly to deal with an artifact or an enchantment.
You might
Like
have to go get a board wipe. You might have to
I
go get.
might have
Depends
to
on
go
what's
bet a
going
board
on in the
wipe.
game that determines what you go get, right?
Like so maybe I can get the best card for that moment, but that's okay. I think like yeah.
Hmm. And that inherently makes your deck stronger, right? Because so you have these five different cards for these five different situations.
It depends
You
on the
put one
cards.
tutor in the deck, and now you have two of each of those cards functionally, right? You don't need to stick to one card. But what I'm making that point, but I'm also going to make the point of if that's all you do is throw that demonic tutor in there, you still have to draw the demonic tutor,
Yeah.
right? And that's one card out of 100,
Hmm.
99. Um, so your deck doesn't go from a 5 to a 7, right? By having that one demonic tutor in the deck.
I don't think it would make it a 5 to a 7 if you had 10 demonic tutors in the deck.
See, I would disagree on that, right?
That's
I
okay.
mean, because at that point you can go get any card you need for any situation that's how you go get the board wipe when that guy, drops down 10, 14, 14s.
Mm-hmm.
You can go get um
Why
the
is that
counter
so?
spell you need to get, even though it's one counter spell in the deck. You can go get your best card to win the game in the deck. Because you have 10 tutors, you can cast three of them and go get each of those situations, right?
Okay, but all I've done is I've made my deck more consistent. That's
Right.
it.
So a
Okay?
more consistent
But
deck is
but
better than a non-consistent deck.
is it? What's the
I
deck?
think I think so that's what so yes. So we
Like
can get into that conversation then
like I
too,
could
right?
still be playing the fucking cat deck
Hmm. But still,
and
so being able to search for Jetmir 10 different times doesn't make the cat deck better.
it ten
It makes it from
jet
a
what is
5 or
jet
like a
what is
1. It's
what is
definitely not a 1 or
Jetmir do?
2 anymore,
What is
right?
jet
Not a
what
1 or
is
2.
what does Jetmir do?
Oh, it's like a crater hoof. You have enough creatures, your creatures will eventually get +3 +0 vigilance, trample, double strike. And it costs 4. Naya, it's a cat, I think, a cat demon. So we're going the cat deck. Um, 3 creatures, you get +1 +0 in vigilance. 6 creatures, they get another +1 +0 and trample. 9
Yeah.
creatures, they get another +1 +0 and double strike. So if I can go search for that finisher, or in my cat deck, my Triumph of the Hordes, the one that gives infect and +1 +1. Is that Triumph of the Hordes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I can go get those my finishers, I've played. Look, I'm funny. I got my 10 cats out, and then I go have 10 tutors to go get my finishers. My deck is not a 1 or 2 anymore. That's for damn certain.
Okay, but if you have 10 cats And the time to go demonic tutor for a jet. What turn are we talking about here? Like, if it's turn
We're
10,
talking like turn, yeah, turn. I mean,
if it's so, this is a
hopefully,
conversation I had, like, literally had this conversation, like, in real life, right? I sat down with John D's friends,
this is fake.
and
No,
and
no, go, no, go. Yeah.
and they were like, "Yeah, we don't play combos." Like, they didn't like make a big stink about power level or anything. They were just like, "We're kind of newish. We don't play combos." And I was like, "Shit," because the
Yeah,
only deck I
yeah.
had together was Grist. And I was like, okay. I looked at John and I was like, well, that I mean, I needed to know that before I showed up. All of my decks have combos, and so I said to him like, what are we talking about here? Like like I'm pretty comfortable saying like anything after turn 10 is fair game, right? So
Oh, I would
I
absolutely,
will end this game on turn 10, right?
absolutely, I would agree.
Right? So in this cat
Yeah,
example, if
yeah,
I can go get my Jetmir and it's turn 10 because I have all these cats and like nobody's killed them apparently or interacted with me, like why is that a problem? Like that I don't think that makes that deck powerful. Like that's not powerful. Winning on turn 10 is
no,
not
no, winning on turn
powerful.
10 is not powerful, but I'm just saying it's having those. Like it's, I'm not saying that deck's an 8, a 9, or a 10, right? I'm not
I mean
talking
it's
about that.
barely a 5 or
But
a
I'm
6
saying
in this conversation.
most people would consider like, I mean,
I understand
I guess
that
the
I am in the
idea would be
minority
that you
here.
could you'd have the opportunity to search for that finisher before turn 10, and you'd hopefully get out more than 9 creatures, by turn 10. Hopefully we're talking turn
I mean,
6 here.
if the finisher
I
is
like,
if the finisher is relevant on turn 6 and you have all these tutors, you're probably always winning on turn 6, which makes your deck significantly
better.
more powerful. Yes.
But yes,
But
that's the argument.
that's because the deck can win on turn 6. Like if we're talking about a made up cat deck that can win on turn 10, has to get all these cats out first. Like just because you can find your finisher doesn't make it more powerful to me. Like a game should be over around turn 10. Like
Oh, I
actually
prefer to be over before turn 10.
well before turn 10.
I agree with that. It should be over before turn 10. But I do think that if you have the ability to search for more of your stuff, your deck, like if the same exact cat deck, two of them, one has tutors, the other one does not. The one with tutors is a higher power level than the one without.
I think the one is a better deck.
Yeah.
I don't think that I
Oh,
think there's a
you're
difference
get- you're
between those
you're you're
words.
you're getting
I
into it,
know
right? Yeah.
we'll catch up, but I
Let's
think
pop back. Let's pop
there's a
back a step.
huge difference between those words
Yeah. So so the hint here, if you're not picking it up, is power and powerful
versus
and
good.
better or good, right? That's the two things, and we'll get into it. So these are cards that, like, I honestly like what a lot of people, and we talked about, having one of these isn't going to throw your deck up to a different power level. We'll talk about here. But if I sit down with somebody and I say, "Oh, we're going to play a casual game," I don't expect to see a lot of these. And we kind of talked about it already. Like someone drops a mana crypt in a powerful game, it's not going to be. It can still be a casual game, right?
Hmm.
Tutors, you run, even if you run those four tutors in your deck and that's it, it can still be a casual game, right? I think for me personally, where I get kind of salty, I would say, is the free spells.
Yeah,
Um,
I
like
can agree with that.
the free interaction there. I would say, and we kind of talk about like the type of interaction, or interaction shouldn't be considered, but I think the type of interaction is kind of important.
I agree with that.
So if you're running free spells, I would not expect to see like even one free spell in a casual game. Casual game, we're paying
Well,
mana for
well
toys,
this
right? We're paying
this
for our
hap-
toys.
this
Go
happens a
ahead.
lot in
Yeah,
this conversation, right? People say things like, "I wouldn't expect any free spells." There are a lot of free spells in Magic,
true.
and a lot of them are not great.
Right. Well, so I mean, I think for this
But
example
this is
here we have on the
I
screen, Beer
right.
Scotty should probably swap Force of Will, right?
But it calls back to the tutor argument too, like people are like, and the combo argument. Like like we talk about demonic tutor a lot, but if you have 10 diabolic tutors, right, that's a different discussion, right?
Yes, that's the forecasting one, right?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
even grim tutors, right? Like there are levels to all this stuff. Like no free spells. Well, like there's a lot of cool free spells.
I like
Like
someone's like,
like
I would
common
not be upset
commandeer
with
is a
the
cool
call.
card.
Who? Commandeer.
Commandeer, you can like exile 2 blue cards and steal a spell. That one's pretty cool. Allosaurus Rider, you can exile 2 green cards and you just get this like goofy dinosaur. Like that one's pretty cool.
That's fair. That's fair. I wouldn't be upset with the obscuring haze, right? That's
The green
the fall
version
that
of
cycle.
deflecting
Yeah.
swat, or the white one, like gives
Flawless
things.
maneuver.
Yeah.
Right, because the most thing you're doing with if you're playing that deck, I mean I have it in my add-on deck, right? Is they're just gonna attack you next turn with this stuff. But
Yeah.
so I'll get the type of free spell matters.
Yeah.
Um, but like I don't expect someone to be tapped out. Like if you have mana untapped, and if I play into a counter spell with you having mana untapped, and you can go 2 mana drain, 2 counter spell, negate, whatever. Okay, that sucks, but you had mana untapped in a casual game, right? We're talking, hey, we're just gonna have fun, we're hanging out, we're eating pizza, we're talking. We're not Scott's sitting there sweating because he's holding on to his tutor because he wanted to play it 3 turns ago, but he can't because people are just kind of hanging out.
Okay, but
I wouldn't expect you to be tapped out and then to still be able to counter my spell
well, okay,
in
but
that.
do we feel the same way about days?
I think so.
What about foil?
Foil's the common one, right?
You discard a
I,
land, an
I'm gonna
island.
say, go ahead.
You discard a blue card and an island to
It's a
play
high
foil
cost.
for to play foil for free.
I'm gonna
You
go
three
ahead
for
and
one
say
yourself.
that yes, if we're gonna talk about free counter spells, and we're just gonna free
Just
counter spells
just
anytime. Yeah,
blanket it.
yeah. Days and foil are probably not great because there's a chance I'm gonna have that 1 mana.
What about Pact
Um,
of Negation?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, they got to pay 5 next turn. Yes, I killed Kevin once because I destroyed one of his lands, but and he couldn't pay 5 then.
I mean, that's a
But
significant
yeah, yes,
downside.
I would agree. I would say even pact, especially pact of negation, right? I just wouldn't expect it, right? If you I counter spells are fine. That's part of the game. Just when we're on that casual level, right? But again, if you're tapped out, I wouldn't expect. And honestly, like our free counter spells, even like a good part of the game at this point. I mean that's a different conversation for a different time, right? I don't think
Yeah, I
we
mean,
should be
I'm not
crazy.
saying I like them.
Right, right, right.
I don't really like most of the free spell. Like, I don't like the free spells that they're print, like the deflecting swats. I don't have a problem with force of will, like ever really. Like, I
No,
get what
well,
you're
you're
saying,
missing the
and
card, right?
I'm not
It's
gonna,
there's a cost to that,
yeah, I'm not gonna
right?
argue this point. Like, whatever, I'm good with it. But I wouldn't care if somebody force of willed my stuff at any table, because you've 2 for 1 yourself. That's okay. And in this world, right? In this world we're talking about, like your individual cards don't matter as much, right? On
Right,
an
right.
individual level, each
I
card
have another
is
big
less
fatty that I'm gonna play next
significant.
time.
So if you're going to
Yeah,
2 for 1 yourself, that's okay.
right.
Or 3 for 1
Um,
yourself with foil, or bounce a land back to your hand with days. Like
yeah.
you've paid the price for that. But if you just get to like fierce guardianship and like that's yeah, I agree that that's pretty buns. I hate those style of cards.
We
And
played them though.
I hate the evoke elementals that you can play for
Oh,
free.
like solitude and grief in them.
Yeah, just because they can be like flickered, like I don't like that. Like I don't I mean it's cool, I guess. It's cool and constructed more or less, but I really don't like them in Commander just cuz it's just more free stuff and then it's like super bustable.
Hmm. I never thought I'd hear you say you didn't like powerful cards, but I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Um, but yeah, so like these are just cards you wouldn't expect. But again, like any one of these, like I know that Mitch plays like he would put fierce even in his casual decks, he'd put a fierce guardianship
Hmm.
in every one of them. But that would be the only free counter spell he had in his decks.
Hmm.
Um, so it doesn't make the deck from a 5 to an 8, right? It's just you wouldn't expect to see them. And see the Dockside Extortionist down there. If you're just playing a Dockside to get 5 treasures, to have 5 treasures, 10 treasures. That's very, very, very good. But at the same time, like it needs to be paired with it needs to be like you're not breaking it at that point. You're just playing it as intended,
You're
right?
just getting
Like if you
ran.
like
Yeah.
what was the blue card that got banned? That was really good with wheels.
Um,
The Narset creature guy.
Hull breacher.
Hall Breacher, right? If people didn't play Hall Breacher with wheels, right, and just put it out there and was like, hey, now you can't draw cards, like that's not broken, right? It's just that they then broke it with all the wheels.
Right.
Orthodox Side Distortion style. You can play that in a casual game. You wouldn't expect to see it, but you really wouldn't. You wouldn't come like if I have a Dockside and a Team of Sabretooth in a deck. Again, we're going to talk about goodness here and power. Like I would have to have tutors in there to get it too, but I wouldn't expect to see those kind of combos in those two card combos that we were talking about, right? In those casual games.
Well, we can talk about these tutors here too. Like,
Yeah,
I'm okay with these tutors.
go on the top of the deck.
Yeah, there's a cost there. You've paid the price. You are down a card now. And
You
again,
know your draw is next turn.
we can we have an understanding that the card that you're putting on top is not going to end the game, right? Like like
Right.
if
In
I
the
cast a
casual.
vampiric tutor, right? You're like, this game's probably over. But in this theoretical world, if I cast a vampiric tutor, I've probably just got another cat. It's just an above average cat.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're just like you said. Like,
So
yeah,
okay,
I agree with that point.
you set a
Yeah.
card in your hand on fire so that you guaranteed that you drew an above average cat this turn. I'm okay with that. I don't care how many times
Like
you do
let's
it.
not talk about cats. Like I'm gonna go back to my like in my Aragon deck. Yeah, I would say that's. I'm just gonna go find another pretty good, pretty decent multicolored legend that's just gonna trigger Aragon, two of his
Hmm.
abilities, and that's what it's gonna do. But with Esper Urza, just to keep make sure we know what we're talking about. Like I'm gonna go get Anointed Procession, or
Yeah,
I'm gonna get Smothering Tithe,
yeah.
or I'm
See,
gonna get that Technomancer guy that's gonna destroy one of my. It's a black card for four.
yeah.
Destroy an artifact. I destroy one. Point is, I'm gonna destroy one of my constructs and then make 10 treasures or 10 other things, 10 other artifacts to pump up because it's a 10/10 from my other constructs. So that does matter. Would that deck be like, where would you put that kind of interaction? Like, is that a powerful card interaction? Is that a combo? Is that a seven? Is that an
No,
eight? Because it
no.
ain't an eight. I don't think it's an eight, right?
Well,
On
it's,
this power level
you're
scale.
still in the 5 and the 6 world. I mean, I think
Right.
like everybody says that like all the decks are sevens. I would
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
most decks are fives, right?
I honestly would agree with that. Like five or six. If we're talking on a 1 to 10 scale, and like going off of what you're talking about here, like
And if just because you can enlighten tutor for a smothering tithe,
yeah,
like doesn't change that math for me, because
too
there
much.
are so many cards that I can play. If this is something that I'm worried about, that can stop that. Like it's
Hmm.
not hard to like
Stop it.
first off, like we always end up down this rabbit hole. Like, oh, you have a smothering tithe, and like, okay, but you're not playing like you also don't have like 8 academy manufacturers out there because that would make your deck a higher power level, right? Like because you've just comboed off, you draw your whole deck and win. Like okay,
It
you're
makes it
not
good.
you're not going to be playing, you're not going to be making the extra mana so that you can like Thoracle with counter backup. Like it's not like you're getting a smothering tithe and making more mana so that you can play more cats. Okay. And I know I'm gonna hit this cat example pretty hard, but like
We've been hitting the cats hard, which is why I tried to get over to Urza. But no, the cats are good. It's a decent example.
like I don't personally have any decks
But
in this
what you're
world.
gonna do is you're gonna play a dinosaur. You're gonna play another
You're gonna
big
play another
creature.
decent
You're gonna
card,
play yeah. You're
but
gonna
it's a
play a
decent,
dragon, right? Like
yeah.
that's yeah.
And the game's gonna continue, and then maybe somebody will blow up your smothering tithe. Maybe they won't, but
You'll play
like,
two dragons, and you'll be a little bit further ahead. And hopefully, you have a card that gives them haste, and then somebody takes 12, and the turn gets passed.
right? So
Right?
these kind of things are
Great, but it's
always
not. Yeah.
always have to be accounted for, like in the rest of the context,
Hmm.
because like you can't. For me, you can't say things like, "Oh, you have vampiric tutor, so your deck must be." Even you have enlightened tutor and smothering tide, so your deck is definitely like okay. It doesn't matter.
This is a little off topic, but not off topic. Like it kind of goes along with what you were saying. Like I had a Kyla Sigarda's emissary deck for like a half a second, and I was like, this deck is not strong enough for me. I don't like it. Um, so you just played like Kyla. It costs 5. Anytime a human enters the battlefield, he gets a counter, and then your humans get +1/+1 for each counter on him. So I was playing a bunch of humans, and it turns out Thalia, Heretic Cathara, and Thalia Guardian Therabin are good humans to play. So I played in a game on Spell Table once. I played Thalia Guardian of Therabin, and this one guy
Somebody
would
lost
not
their
shut
fucking
up
mind about stacks,
about
huh?
it being a control deck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not. It is not a
Mm-mm.
control deck. I have a human that makes your stuff cost more.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a control. You want me to play a control? I'll play a control game.
Yeah.
We'll take out a stasis here, and we'll see what's up.
Lost
But
their
but like he
fucking
just
mind,
wouldn't
I'm
like
sure.
one card, and he would not shut up about it.
No. You know what kills a
So
Thalia? Gut shot kills a
anything,
Thalia.
anything will kill a Valley.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So let's shift tax here. Let's go forward a few slides. We have a couple. We back in the day when we first had this conversation. We're going to have this conversation.
Where am I going?
I sent out a list. Yeah, the next one. Yeah.
Okay.
I said, hey, everybody, send me your deck lists. Not your deck lists, but send me your deck names, your decks, and rate them yourselves.
Do this spiel. I'll be right
Um,
back.
yeah. You want to
From this.
pause? You pause or
No.
no?
No.
Just getting up real quick. He's
Yeah.
just leaving, folks. He's just popping up. Saw a little bit of Scooty Booty there when he turned. I'm just gonna sit here and wait. Just gonna sit here and wait. It's fine.
You don't have to wait. I'm listening.
No, I'm waiting.
You can
I'm
tell the
waiting.
story.
I can tell the story. Okay, I'll tell the story. So I didn't get a lot of returns. Not a lot of people got back to me on this. But the few that did, I put them up here, right? On this 1 to 10, and it is going the opposite way. I realized that as I was making this presentation. But I didn't fix it. I was like, I'm not gonna fix it. They can you guys can figure it out. Use your critical thinking skills. That 10 is now on the left and 1's on the right. Or vice versa, depending on how I'm looking at it. But I rated my decks, and as I made this, I kind of redid them with what I actually think they are now. Scott, what do you think? How do you think I did? Also, Crick doesn't exist anymore. I took it apart.
So, let's see. I mean,
But so on this Jank's a Wonder of 4. Wonder of 4, you're janky, right? 5 to 7, you're casual. 8 to 9, powerful. 10, you're CDH. So that's that little ranking there, right?
let's see. Crick, yeah. I mean, Crick is probably a CEDH deck, but we're just splitting hairs there.
All right.
I don't know that I've seen the Marwyn deck, or at least not in some time. That seems pretty high, but I think
I've been
Sith
playing
is.
around with it. I think I put in. I'm toying around playing another commander, Dwayne, Doan. I don't know, just to make it less scary for people because they just take out Morrowind and the deck's kind of done.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I think Sithis is way better than Tuvasa.
See, I didn't think so. For
I
the
know,
longest
I
time.
know
I think
you
we
don't
talked
think
about that
so.
before, right? Well, I thought I was doing everybody a favor by playing Sithis
Mm-mm.
and not Tuvasa. So
I think. Let's
that's
see.
a Maelstrom Wanderer sitting there by Urza.
I mean, and I think everything after Adeline could probably be moved to the right. I mean, I wouldn't call like Aragorn jank. Like that seems aggressive, but
It's almost. I mean, it's just. So I do just because of the level of interaction I have in the deck. I feel like there's not a lot of interaction in that deck. It's only doing its own thing. but then, so to your point, I was looking at Morrowind today. There's like four interaction spells in that deck. Not a lot of removal in that deck at all.
I don't,
That's
yeah.
mostly because it's focused on its combo, though.
I mean,
Right?
like I said, I don't think that comes into the conversation.
Mhm.
I think if
Adeline's
I'm
in a good spot, but everything
if
else goes back to a five.
if I'm thinking about the game plan
Hmm.
and the cards that I can remember off the top of my head, right? Like I think Tuvasa is probably high. Um, Adeline, like you could probably like for me at least, you could
Yeah.
probably, but that's mostly just from playing against them. Like you could switch Tuvasa and Adeline because
Mm.
like maybe you look at the cards in Adeline and maybe on an individual level they're not that
That's good.
powerful, but the deck is very capable of just running away with a game.
Hmm.
It's really good,
Right.
and you have to be prepared for it in a way that like you're
Hmm.
not prepared for it in the 5 or 6 range, right? You need to have like the cheap
You need to
one
have that
mana.
board wipe.
You need to have the board wipe. You need to have the cheap removal for Adeline, and you need to know like when to use it. And um,
Usually when she hits the field.
yeah, yeah. But
But
like, there's
yeah.
other stuff going on too, and so I think you can switch
I
those.
could probably
Plus,
throw my yeah. Let's go to the next.
like, and then I
But
think like Maelstrom Wanderer and Urza, like I know like they read like they're decent cards, right? They're okay cards, but I know like what's in the deck. Like I know what like I know you're not trying to like you're just trying to cascade in Maelstrom Wanderer, which is fine.
right,
Like, Cascade's cool.
right.
Like
Lot
okay,
of good cards. Like, I play the big Hullbreak Horror. I play the Green Dragon that makes treasures. Um,
yeah, but you know
Nether
it's
Hall's in there. Both the Tallies are in there. But yeah.
and like Atraxa like sort of has to be like between 6 or 7 just because it's Atraxa.
Hmm.
I think
It's slow is what
I
it is,
think
right? It's
I
only
think
going to do something on turn six.
I think your Preston deck is probably not optimized. I think Preston is super good.
Yes.
Like I like
But
that
my
card.
deck, I'm talking like my yeah, because like before you'll see there's two Kenrith decks that are listed. Um, and they are two different Kenrith decks. So this isn't just the commander, the deck itself, right? Because you could build an Aragon deck that just focuses on going infinite red spells, right? And that's a pretty good, that's a powerful deck. I mean, not good, but let's go to the next one.
Okay,
So
Harry.
here's Harry's decks and how I listed these specifically as how they put them.
Okay,
Um, Harry's Kenrith deck here was listed as a Kenrith Monarch deck.
okay,
And Kenrith parentheses Monarch. And they're a little bit off there because he made his, I think that was a 6.5, maybe. That's why it's off to the side there. Um, but he think, Magda is his most powerful. He's got his Miram and his Corval decks, which I feel like all the fact that Miram has Ward is really what it is for that.
they're both very good.
Right, that is
I think that Kalia is a very good example deck to use
hmm he's
because
a
you
7.5, like
you
maybe.
can build like so you're in red, white, and black. So you can
Hmm.
build a Kalia deck with a bunch of fucking random demons and angels or whatever. I don't remember
Demons,
everything.
Angel, Dragons. That's what it
You
does.
can build a Kalia deck with a bunch of fucking random demons, angels, and dragons. It has a ton of removal. It has a ton of tutors, right? But as long as you're not playing Master of Cruelties,
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about.
like the deck is probably like a 6.
Right.
But once you
It's
put
scary.
Master of Cruelties in there, like 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 you have the tutors and you have a
Hmm.
bunch of random shit.
Hmm.
It's all decent, but it's just random shit. As soon as you put the Master of Cruelties in there, the Master of Cruelties combined with the tutors,
Right.
instantly makes it like an 8, like by default. Like you have the option to just Kalia, Demonic
Kill somebody.
Tutor, kill somebody.
Right.
Just like that combination of cards makes it an 8. But without the Master of Cruelties, it's probably a 6. It's just random shit.
Random good shit, cheap
Yeah,
shit.
but it's
That's just
random shit.
I can but it's random shit. Right. So same I think with the Ur Dragon there. Like I feel like that's again it's a 6 because you're just gonna cast those dragons, right? The Mirim's good. It's better than the Ur Dragon because you're copying your dragons.
Yeah,
You're
Miriam
doing the
just
opposite of what Force of Will did, right? It's 1 for 2 instead of 2 for 1.
Miriam
You're
just runs away
doubling
with it.
the
Yeah.
yeah. I think he's right with his Sauron and his Crewfix deck there.
Mm-hmm.
I like his Sauron deck. Like when he plays that, like it's a good casual. Like that's a good match. Like I would play Maelstrom Wander. I'd play Urza against it. Aragon. Um, I think it's a cool deck. Some of his werewolves is I think very good. Like it's deceptively good. Like he will suddenly have. And again, like you need right. You need the interaction, the board wipe. Like it's not an 8, right? But turn 5, he's gonna have like 6 flipped werewolves.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. But
Yeah.
Omnath, I think, is just that values have built well together deck.
But you can see
Yeah.
how we're falling into that same trap, right? That
Right.
people fall into where everything is a
Everything's a 7.
7.
Mm-hmm.
So like Sauron, like I've seen him play it. It's a janky deck. It's
Mm-hmm.
a
It's
good
good
deck.
though.
It's a good
Yeah.
deck. It's
It
jank.
gets scary. It can get like it can be a problem.
I mean, if your deck doesn't eventually get scary, right, then it's a 1 or 2.
And it's a 1 or
But
a
that's
2.
the
Yeah.
idea.
I
Like,
heard somebody describe it once as like a 1 and a 2 is your commander and 99 lands.
yeah.
Right.
So like this, the Sauron is can probably get dropped down at least 1. Like the
Penrith.
Kuranos can probably get dropped down 2. Like you can spread these out. Like I don't know what all is in Omnath, Kenrith, and the Ur Dragon. Like I don't know. Maybe they are
The
sevens.
Ur Dragon,
Maybe
I
they're
think
not.
it's just his general like he's also playing. I think he's playing those orbs that they printed a while ago.
Yeah,
The 3 cross like dragon orbs that yeah.
but
The
I know
Monarch
he's got
attack
Master of
is probably
Cruelties.
more of a 6 or a 5, I think, just because it's Monarch. The whole idea is to keep the Monarch for him.
I know he has Master of Cruelties in that Kalia deck, which makes it an 8.
But how many tutors does he have? Like if he doesn't have any tutors, is it still an 8? Just
No,
because Master Abilities isn't that?
no.
So I don't
But
know how many tutors he has.
I'm betting there's a couple.
I'm sure there's a few, but
Yeah.
not a lot. I go head to the next one. If we had Elvis here, I know he misrepresented, not on purpose. Um,
Keenan's like
so
the
Keenan
best
is a
deck
9.
in CEDH, yeah, like at least.
Yeah, his Kenrith deck he was Kenrith parentheses combo, so
Yeah,
that's at least
yeah,
an 8. I feel like
that's
if
to
if
the
we're doing
left.
that right, right.
Cisse is to the
Hmm.
left.
And is that I don't know why I didn't put he had Joe to the Unifier. I think I just didn't want to put it there because I was going to change it. I couldn't not bring myself to change it. He had Joe to the
Joda's,
Unifier down at a 4.
yeah, Joda's over
Like
here. But
automatically a 6 at least, no
that's
matter
because
what you're playing.
he's not good at playing it. You always got to kind of walk him through it, but it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Uh,
like speaking of Joe to the Unifier. I think I've said this before, but I want to say it on camera. Um, MTG Mudsta, I think the guy has a deck where it's an Enchantress Joe to the Unifier deck, and he just finds all the backgrounds.
that's cool.
It's amazing. And then he drops an Opalescence, and I'm just like, oh my God. But when he dropped the Opalescence, I was like, I am in love now. Like, this is a deck after my own heart. All his enchantments are like now 2020s. Ah, it was so nice.
Yeah,
But yeah,
so
like his
like,
Atlas Plani deck. So Atlas Plani, right? We'll talk about that. And we know he has at least one of the Eldrazi. Like, and he plays it. Is an Atlas Plani deck that runs the Eldrazi, like, and cards similar to comparable cards? Is that a 6? Because that's the top tier of an Atlas Plani deck, right? Is running. You sack your eggs and kill your eggs to go get Eldrazi.
No,
Where does that deck fall?
I mean probably. I mean, I guess it depends. So like I've like his app like I mean you can go infinite with Atlapalani like super easily. Like there's like getting Eldrazi is not the tip of that spear.
Okay. All
There's
right.
also like um so like there's a random element to it at least. Like
It's kind of like cascading.
his
You're
Atlapalani deck.
pulling off the top. You're pulling off the top.
Yeah, I mean six is probably fine, right? I mean if you're playing like Mirror like when I built my Atlapalani deck a while ago, like we're going infinite with Mirror Entity and Giant Growth, like we're going off. So
I
like
do know the mirror entity
that
play.
that deck was probably like an eight, um, but his is plays like random eggs,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
so.
I would put
I
his
mean, this is a pre-con, right? This is a pre-con card.
right.
This was printed in a deck where you were supposed to be able to decide. Like it wasn't the face commander, but they always stick one of these guys in there so you can just like hot swap them.
We might know I see was that it wasn't the face command of the pre-con, but
So like it's a super fair card if you want it to be, and it's a super unfair card if you don't want it to be. Um, so I don't
right.
know. I'd have to see the list, but
I'd move
this
his Anawan there, the rogue guy down a little bit, and then the Gruul guy at the bottom. Like it can be explosive, but down a little bit.
yeah. I mean these. I mean Orvar's probably janky. Jared's probably janky. Like they
Or
don't all
Yeah,
have.
Gerard is his first deck, right? Like it's
They don't have to be. I think Jared is the face commander of the Atlapalani deck. Um, like they don't all
his
have
Super
to
Friends
be in
deck. I
this.
feel like it's in a good spot just because it's a Super Friends deck. I feel like that's in a good spot.
Cisse?
Right. Sisay, yeah. I would have put. I didn't realize Sisay pumped herself.
Mm,
I thought you had to pump her with spells, and I didn't want to play her because I didn't want to fill it with pump spells. I did not realize she pumped
yeah,
herself.
yeah. No, she's good.
Very good.
She's really strong.
All right.
But yeah, I
Next
mean,
one.
just think like they don't all have to be sixes and sevens.
Squished. Yeah.
Um,
Next one.
like I think John D actually
Johnny did a good job.
did a good
So
job.
people did put pre-cons on here. I didn't include them just because I was tired of searching for cards
Mm-hmm.
and getting the images. But so Johnny here, yeah, he did a decent job here, spreading them out at least. Like Cricker's in a good spot. I mean, I think maybe I haven't played his Brago deck a whole lot,
Yeah, it's good.
but I don't.
It's tuned.
It's at a,
It's got all the cards it needs. Yeah.
so we're talking. Is this on a 1 to 10 power level scale? That's it. Now we're not talking good yet. Power level. You think it's an 8?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, he has 1/7 or dragon.
he's the deck's got the juice, and he plays it well. Like I mean
But we're
that
not. Let's not talk about pilots, right?
I
Because
know.
you give Elvis your grist deck, and he's not. It's a 3. All right.
Yeah, no. Maybe it's not an eight. I don't know. I mean, that's true. It's tough to separate. He wins with it a lot
Okay.
against
Oh,
a
hey,
lot of good
that's fair.
decks. So
Does that determine the power level? How many what the win percentage of the deck is?
doesn't determine it. It just helps to like
Helps you look at it.
helps you let you know that you made the right call. If
Hmm.
you call it an eight and it wins against a bunch of eights, it's probably an eight.
Yeah. All right.
Um, like some of these can move down. Like Olivia's definitely a jank deck. He knows it,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't actually know if
Kina, I
Kid.
feel like is at least a 5, just because it says play more cards, draw a card. And at least a 5 if you're not playing, unless you're not playing morph cards, right?
Yeah,
Just having a commander that says draw a card when you do this.
I don't think I've ever
I
played against it, so I don't know.
I wanted to I wanted to pick that card up, that deck up when it first printed, but then it was like, oh, I'm just gonna play these 20 morph cards, 30 more. And it was just like, I'm not gonna do it now. But like Kevin's Sidisi deck, but Kevin made his Sidisi deck
It's
there,
much better than a five.
right? Like that was at least a 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Like that was his. If I get Hermit Druid out, I will win on the next turn.
Yeah, whenever.
Right?
Yeah, whenever
Yeah.
he decides to win with counter
He
spells, with
had he had his
tutors.
tutors. The deck he played last night, 2 nights ago, that was an 8.
That deck's insane. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
good.
Got through 3 removal spells in 1 turn and still won.
But Warnog and
Max.
who?
The Daredevil,
Oh,
Max the
Max.
Daredevil.
Yeah,
I forget the in universe name of the card.
yeah.
Right.
Max,
Definitely
Max,
better
and
than my
Will.
Balin deck. Definitely better than my Balin deck.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's look at some pods here. Let's match these decks up.
Well, hold on.
We're gonna.
Let's do
Oh,
mine.
sorry.
I didn't send it to you because.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't put it on here. I didn't see yours. So, what are yours?
Well, let's just do a couple. Um,
Okay.
Let me bring up my decks, and we'll just do two or three here.
I
So
love this
these.
blue. Did you
So
send something back in the
I
day?
I don't think I did.
Okay. What are
Let's see.
yours?
Let's do Grist because we talked about Grist a lot.
Okay, Grist. Where would we put Grist? I mean, it has combos.
Yep.
It has tutors.
Yep.
So
Has Mana
it's
Crypt.
definitely
Chrome
powerful, right?
Mox.
It's not a casual deck.
Nope.
It's not a CDH deck, I wouldn't say.
Me neither.
So it's probably not. I mean, I wouldn't put it. I would put it at an 8. I know you would put it at a 7.
I'll take 8. It's okay.
But either way, that falls in that powerful level. Like if somebody says, "Let's play a powerful game," and you pulled out Grist, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay, let's do Rocco. Let's do Papa Rocco first.
Papa Rocco. Again, I at least calling him a trap here. At least a 7, right? Because because they're commons. Like you
Right.
have tutors,
I have one
you
tutor.
have ramp,
I have
you have
one
one
tutor.
tutor. Okay, you
That's
have
my
one
commander.
tutor. Okay. Well, okay. So you have a tutor you always have access to.
Yes.
Um, it's very well built. Okay. Okay. Well, okay. Power level. On the power level scale, is it a 6? And we can fix it later, right? Is it a 6 on the power level?
I
Because it's a very good deck. It can win turn 2.
could.
According to that pyramid scale, it is a 9,
Yeah.
right?
It
According to the pyramid
usually,
scale,
yeah.
it's a 9.
Can
But according to
usually
the
win
other
on
scale,
5.
the other up and down scale, if you want to rewind the video, pause it, and zoom in, um, like a 9 and a 10, it says something like no fluff, most powerful cards, tries to win. You don't have to rewind. I was talking about to our viewer. I was talking to our viewer because we can't read that.
Decks
A
have,
9
let's
is
see.
decks have no fat. Every card matters. Every play is impactful. Decks have specific lines of play. You're expected to make multiple plays a turn from turn 1, if not sooner.
Yep.
You must be ready to interact just as quickly.
Yep.
Board states are less important than in lower levels. Budgetless decks are common, but so according to
It's
this,
literally a 9.
it's literally a 9. Like I'm reading this, like this is a 9.
Yep.
So it doesn't say the most powerful cards. It just has lines of play, right?
Mm-hmm.
According to this, right, Grist is a 9, right? Because you have those specific lines of play. None of your decks have, I would say, fat on them.
Oh, Chris has some
And you would
fat.
expect to make multiple. The only reason why you wouldn't make a multiple player turn is because you have combo pieces in hand that you're not ready to play yet.
Yeah.
8 decks have a specific, consistent, so tutors game plan, often following defined lines of play. Every card enables, supports, protects the deck's primary strategy. Lots of low cost ramp and tight curves. Many decks, but not all, are high budget to budget lists.
So those are saying basically the same thing, right?
Yeah, let's read so 5 here. Decks have a broad strategy in mind. Most are somewhat generalist, often employing a wide array of good stuff cards, like draw spells, board wipes, etc., to supplement their primary goal. Mana bases and card choices are better, but often still inefficient due to budget or prioritizing personal favorites over strategic choices.
Yeah, so it's a 5 up until that last line too. Like it's also a 5.
Bunch of good stuff, right?
Up until the last line.
Right, right. Yeah, you don't play favorites. Your favorite cards are cards that are good.
Yeah, decks have a definite strategy in mind, or multiple that synergize well to enable a solid game plan. Spell choices
Yep.
are more focused, but with mixed levels of efficiency. Lands entering untapped are prioritized. Battlecruiser
Yep.
decks are uncommon. Most decks contain at least one hard win con, usually a combo. Decks often have a modified budget. Like it's also a 6, you know?
But at six, we're getting into combo ranges here. Yeah.
So I mean, I'd take an 8 for Grist. I think Grist has some fat. I mean, we literally discussed how one of its combos is just bad, right? Like it's bad because I want to play it.
Right. So hey, so maybe that last line on the five isn't lying. You're playing favorites because you want
Yeah,
to play
yeah,
the
but it's not inefficient. Anyway, so
what
Papa Rocco
we
is
determined that it's a five and a nine simultaneously.
yeah, that deck has no fat.
Oh yeah, the pop. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Papa Rocco is a nine.
But
Yeah,
the deck only has one line of play.
that's it. So 10, most powerful. Can it win turn one or turn one at all?
No.
No. Okay, so then according to this, it's definitely it's a nine. According to this, it is a nine.
So then what about Rocco Food Chain?
I mean, and it's the same deck, right? It's just you're playing better cards,
Yeah.
more expensive cards. You're playing
Yeah.
Food Chain.
Yeah, but it
Can you
has
win turn one?
yep.
And then it's a 10, according to this.
Right. Well, I mean that's why I use those two. So
Right.
the difference like it's like it's absurd. Oops, too far. It's absurd to call Papa Rocco a 9. Like that's absurd.
Right. But according to this, it is a nine.
Um,
I think it's at least because again, winning on turn two with a combo is not less scary or powerful because they're commons. And again, this I think where the divergence happens because you would not call it powerful but good.
yeah, a little bit.
Like it's well built
Yeah.
in that for the power. So and so for maybe in your head it's a six power level because of the cards that are in it.
I would
But
say
again, when we fix it, because we're gonna fix it here soon, it's still a good deck,
right.
and we'll fix it. Don't worry, we'll get there. We'll get there. I got
Now
graphs.
now Rocco Food Chain you could easily call a 9. Like wouldn't take any
Right.
offense to that.
Right.
Deck's
Yeah. You
insane.
you add all that fast mana and tutors into a deck where the commander is a tutor. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I mean that deck usually wins on turn 3. It
that's with
can
interaction.
regularly win on turn 2 and it
Right.
can possibly win on turn 1. Like
Yep.
but it would be crazy to say that those two decks are even close to evenly matched
Right,
because
because what happened? I guess you can't play that. I was thinking you play a Fierce Guardian, so you can't play that
like
in a Rocco deck.
Papa Rocco can win on
Yeah.
turn 2. It's not going to. It can win on turn 3. It's not going to. Can win
Right.
on
Well,
turn 4. Has happened.
consistently, how often does it win? Right. Consistently, how often does it win?
I mean, consistently it wins like on the 6. Like it can combo off consistently by turn 6,
Right.
which is pretty
It's
aggressive
good.
for
It's
Pauper.
pretty good. Yeah, especially for Pauper. I mean, overall, according to the pyramid, it's an eight. According to our upstanding, yeah, our upstanding thing, it's an eight, right? Winning
But
by turn six.
also it doesn't even like rank amongst Pauper EDH decks.
Right.
Like if we're
Well, you're
putting
making
them
a
head,
splash in that community with that deck, I see. Like this some of the
it's
most
a cool deck.
highly viewed videos are your Rocco Scrounger decks videos.
It's a sweet combo. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's do one more.
What that? We got
Atraxa.
I mean I haven't played it, but if you're gonna tell me you're building an Atraxa the Unifier deck, that's at least an 8. If you're telling me you're doing that, like that deck is you play Atraxa, you will most likely be able to draw the maximum amount of cards off of that you can, and you will win that turn, the turn you play Atraxa.
No, I
Because you
mean
could
no.
flicker it somehow. You have the mana and then flicker it and then get another card. So maybe you win the next turn, right? But that is not a casual deck. I would not sit down and say, oh, we're playing casual fives and sixes. And then you sit down with the like even in Harry. Harry made an Atraxa, the unifier
No,
deck. He's like, yeah, it's nothing. And it was not nothing.
no. I mean I agree with your
Yeah.
assessment, but it doesn't. So like we have to apply the same metrics, right? It
Right,
does
right.
not have a defined line of play. Like I'm trying to cast Atraxa and draw a
And then
bunch of
get
cards and
hopefully get
figure it out from there, right?
right.
So like in that regard, it plays like Sithis. Like you're trying to play Sithis and cast some enchantments and figure it out. You're trying to
Right.
generate an
So
advantage.
would you call what you just described for both of those decks a specific consistent game plan, often following defined lines of play?
For which one? For
For both of them.
Atraxa? For
For both of
Atraxa,
them.
that sounds
Actually,
right.
you said cast Atraxa, hopefully get some good cards and go from there. Sit this, play a couple enchantments, draw some good cards, go from there.
Yes.
But is that a specific consistent game plan? Like the consistent specific game plan is to cast Atraxa to cast enchantments. Following
Yes.
that, there is a defined line of play to end the game, right?
Yes.
I will eventually try to make infinite tokens.
Yes. I guess I
You will
would say.
eventually try to flicker Atraxa 20 times to get the cards you need to then win the game.
Yes. What is that, an 8?
That's an 8.
Okay.
I was reading 8. Yeah. 7 is decks are largely refined down to just the best cards for their strategy. Perfect, nearly perfect land bases, multiple cheap tutors, highly efficient ramp draw, etc. Most decks become less. So yeah, if everybody's deck is a 7, this description of that makes most people's decks not a 7, right?
Right.
Nearly perfect land bases, highly efficient ramp, multiple cheap tutors. Like most, what we said at the beginning of this, according to this little thing here, I don't know if we can in the show notes put our graphs. I did not cite any of our graphs. I got them from Google. Um,
Too bad.
most people's decks are 5 or 6, just what they're describing here, right? So
I I do want to throw one more curveball at you. I know we want to get to
perfect.
these graphs. You're excited. What
What?
about
I didn't actually draw them. The first ones I drew and they were terrible.
what about um what about oh shit, I had it pulled up here. What about braids? Did you ever play my braids deck?
Once or twice. It was, I mean, it was a control. I would say that's closer to a 7 or a 6. Because I don't know what you were trying to do, how it won. Did it win with Liliana Chain of Small?
Nope.
Didn't win that way.
No. It won with I mean it won pretty fairly, usually. Just like
Uh,
killing all the creatures and attacking, but it has like Yawgmoth and Mikaeus.
so it has combos in it.
It has Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond.
I mean, those are just so. Would you had a definite strategy in mind with
Mm-hmm.
multiple cards that synergize well to enable a solid game plan. Your
Mm-hmm.
spell choices are more focused, but with
Yeah.
mixed levels of efficiency.
No, see, no,
Probably,
it's not mixed levels of efficiency.
what's that?
There's not mixed levels of efficiency. It's highly efficient, right?
Highly efficient. So I was reading off a six there, right?
Right. No, I
Um,
know. That's why I think this is a good
yeah.
example.
Lands entering untapped were prioritized. It
No,
definitely wasn't a battle cruiser deck. It
no.
contained at least one hard win con, usually a combo, right? So sixes have combos, according to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had more than one hard win con and a combo.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be a six or a seven, right? I didn't read seven. Decks are largely refined down on just the best cards, perfect near perfect mana base. Oh, I did read seven before, but like expect to see lots of powerful staples, higher budgets. But with that deck, did it focus more heavily on a primary strategy? Was the
Yeah,
primary strategy play braids,
that's the whole.
slowly control the table and win?
Yep.
All right, so it's a seven then. Seven. Or a six because it had a combo. You definitely prioritize non-tap lands unless you can capitalize on having a land come into play tap for some dumb reason that you figured out because you did. Um, but yeah, Break's probably a six or a seven then. I know Mitch played it and got stomped, but that's another
Okay.
deck that I was thinking about.
So, because like I think like braids is a better deck than Attrax.
It's not as scary,
Mm,
right? At most with Braid, you're going to draw four cards, right? When it does its thing.
a turn,
A turn cycle,
sure.
not on my turn. Four cards on a turn cycle. With Atraxa, you are going to potentially draw what 10 cards if you did it right. At which
Eight,
point
eight, I
you're
think.
like,
Yeah.
well, how many card types though? I don't know how many it actually looks at. Um, and if you built a deck right, which you did, you're gonna have flicker effects.
Yeah.
So like braids, you're gonna the next turn be able to do it again.
But with braids, I can take over the game on turn three. Like
How?
I can have you by the balls before you even get going.
Well, you have to sacrifice a card type, and then I can sacrifice the card type. If I don't, you draw a card.
Yep.
Okay, so draw a card. I'm gonna go with my game plan and win the game.
Yeah, but so like drawing five cards on turn seven is significantly less impactful than drawing three cards on turn two or three.
I'll agree with that, but you ain't playing the tracks on turn seven.
Even if I played on turn five.
But then you can, I mean, at that point, you can, I mean, it's, I think Atraxa is, it's definitely scarier than Braids.
Of
Like
course.
even whenever I played Braids on the decks I had enough enchantments. What if you sacrificed your one, I was fine. Same with the creatures. Like I'm just gonna sacrifice. I don't
Well,
have to sacrifice
okay.
my
You
token.
you have a yeah. I mean,
All right,
yes.
I have a
Your
specific out.
your enchantment decks are better matched up against braids than they are against Attrax. That's a given.
Yeah,
That's just like a
yeah. I'm looking at it from
fact.
my perspective, and like even what Urza, like okay, you have to sacrifice an artifact. All right, I have lots of artifacts in Urza. Um, trying to think of what would a deck. I mean, Aragon would be kind of annoying because it's a creature, and I don't have a lot of. I mean, he makes creature tokens. Trying to think of all my decks. Preston, you're not sacrificing Planeswalkers. I mean, that's on a list of things. Like I just like if I don't want my thing to be removed, okay, draw the card. Like go knock yourself out. All right, so that's my line of thinking with braids.
Right.
With Atraxa, you're going to look at so many more cards when she comes down, and she's coming down early, and then you're going to look at a lot more again, and then again, and again, and
Mm-hmm.
again. So that's why I think she is just better than Braids.
Okay.
Now, if you build, if you again, it depends on the goodness of the deck, right? Like,
I mean, they're both maxed out, right? Like,
yeah,
they're both no hold. They're both. I mean,
you if you're
Braids is
building a deck, right?
$1,500, right? Like this deck is maxed out.
Yeah, if you're building a deck, I think attracts are scary. Because I can just remove braids. I guess I could just remove Atraxa too, but like I don't know, you have counter spells in Atraxa. You don't have counter spells. You're just running black, right?
No, but it's trivial. Like the braids is gonna keep coming back. The
Right.
braids is gonna
Yeah.
keep
Yes,
the
it's
braids
coming
is
back.
gonna keep draining you, and then once
Oh
you've
yeah, and I lose life. I don't lose life if you draw a card.
once you've spent time worrying about braids, then like that's when I win the game.
Right. All right, let's get to these graphs because I'm
All
getting
right.
sleepy. We could
Oh,
probably
he's
skip these matched up pods. So these are matched up pods. This is a mismatched pod. But, 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 here it is. What if we had a y-axis to the 1 to 10 scale?
hmm.
Go to the next one. And
Oh,
we'll discuss. So here's the power level of that pod
look at your
with just,
beautiful graph.
thank you. It's just an image and I moved it to the back and I moved the cards to the front. I was smart about it. I did not draw it. So we've been talking about this where X is the power. That's your power 1 to 10 scale. The y-axis is good. How good is the deck? How well did you build it? Are you building a Kenmith Monarch deck or are you building a Kenmith combo deck? Right?
Yes.
So here we have one where this is not a good matchup, right? Those sixes and sevens there are not going to match up against those eight and nines.
Nope.
Next slide. Or click again.
You're so
Boom.
positive.
I was excited about this. Now, we've raised them up. And now we can circle them a little bit. We see they're kind of clustered together there. I circled it with my finger on the screen because I can see it, but you
Yeah,
can't see
I
my
see you.
finger because it's up here doing this. You circle it. um, and they can kind of because the built well. Maybe Crick isn't built as well. Like it's a very powerful deck, but like it's not. It doesn't do well against removal. It doesn't have the protection spell, right? The Adeline deck is just again going to come in hard. It's built well. We're going to drop a Cathar's Crusade on turn 3 with Adeline out, right?
Hmm.
So those decks can now run together and they can run together well. And Scott had been talking about this the whole time of
Yeah, I've
it's
been
not
pretty
the
much building up to
interaction, it's
this.
not strapping a rocket to a biplane. It's how well is this deck built? Rocco's a good example too. The Rocco Pauper deck may be a 6 on the power level, but it is a 10 on the good scale. The thing is built well. And I'm exaggerating there, not analyzing it because I'm tired now at this point. I'm sleepy. But it is a good, well built deck.
Yeah.
Right.
See, like I'm firmly of the opinion that you can like optimize a deck within its power level without increasing its power level.
Hmm.
So like the guys like John D's friends that I've been hanging out with, like um, they asked me to help them with their decks, and they play at a different power level than we do. It's just a fact. Um, and so when they ask like what I can add, like the answer isn't Cyclonic Rift, right? Even though that's probably correct.
Right.
But
That's
it's not like Seagate Restoration or Mana Drain, right? But like maybe they could run a counter spell. You know, they could probably fit an Arcane Denial in there, or like an evacuation, right? Just return all the creatures without increasing the power level of the deck.
but
And
it's just better
maybe they
built.
can run a Cyclonic Rift, or you know, like Maybe they should be running treasure cruise. Like they're just drawing cards. Like they just
Right.
need some of the lube, right, that goes into making the deck run, and then they can do their thing, which is probably just put +1/+1 counters on creatures, which is like a generally underpowered move, right? There's no combo finish to that. It's just they just want to
Mhm.
play big creatures and pump them up, but they just need to draw more cards because they run out of them, and they're not playing treasure cruise or like the guy who like you can play fabricate to find your Ichor Gauntlet without increasing the power level of your deck.
Right, but it's just better. It's just better. It's a gooder deck. It's higher on the good
It's a
scale.
gooder deck. You're still just trying to play planeswalkers that are easy to remove. Now, if you add, fabricate and a bunch of other busted artifacts and you know,
At the
a,
moment, a couple different, a couple fabricates.
yeah, and you start. Maybe you're not looking for Ichor Gauntlet. Maybe you're gonna go get Clan Ironworks, right? Like now we're
But
having a
you
different
you take out
conversation.
that planeswalker sub theme you have
Yeah, screw
in
that.
your
Yeah.
deck, and you've put in more. You put more of that +1/+1 counter of synergies,
So,
and it's already ready. um,
but like
yeah,
I think like a lot of the times the answer is to like play it, play a tutor. Like just play
Mhm.
one or play some. Like a guy's asking me to help him with his green deck. I'm like, well, you don't have a green Sun Cena.
Right.
So, I
Natural
mean,
order,
you should be playing
order
a
tutelage,
Green Sun Zenith. Like, if you're
order
gonna
tutor.
Green Sun Zenith for a Crater Hoof Behemoth, like that game was probably over. Like you're generating 9 mana in a green deck. Like you can play all sorts of insane stuff. Like I don't care if you can go get it from your deck. Like you know,
Right,
I don't
right.
think that
You
makes
can
the deck
play
more
it. You
powerful.
want to go, yeah.
The deck was already at like the power level of that deck was determined by the fact that Crater Hoof Behemoth is an option, not
Right.
by
So
the fact that
it's
they
the
can
cat.
search for it.
Yeah, it's the cat deck being a 5, and then maybe like a 2, but then you add Jetmir and Crater Hoof and two tutors, and it's to you on just your point of view, it doesn't make it an 8 because it's still a cat deck.
It can
But what
still
it
be a
does is
two.
it goes from a 5 and 2 to a 5 and a 6.
Yeah.
It goes up instead of cross, right? Because
Yes.
now it has the ability to close out the game. It's a better deck. It's not more powerful because you're still doing the thing. You're
Yeah.
still playing the cats, right? You're still doing that,
Yeah. Yeah. And now
but
you
you've
can
just
play
now
with.
built the deck better.
Yeah, and you can play with higher power level decks that aren't built as well because you probably have some interaction and you can like
Mhm.
stop their permanence. But like once that higher power level deck starts adding in like ways to protect itself and fierce guardianships and all that stuff, like now you probably can't compete anymore because they can
Right.
stop you from interacting with them. And now
A,
it's a mismatch again. But the
a
deck's power
5 and
level
a
is still the
10
same.
can't beat a 10 and a 10, right?
Yeah, I would
Because
say not.
yeah,
But I think like most like if you want to like I think most well-built decks, most decks that are tens in the good scale can have a fair game. Like you'll probably still lose to the 8 that's built well. You'll probably still lose, but I think like a 4 that's built well, has interaction, has card draw, has like a plan. It doesn't have to be a good plan, but has a plan. Can compete. Like you'll have a real game because you can interact with them.
so let's go back to that just real quick, just to clarify. Interaction has no part in the discussion of power level, but does greatly affect the discussion of the
How good a
goodness,
deck is.
the Y
Yes.
axis. So the amount of interaction affects how good a deck is,
Well,
affects that Y action,
it's
that Y level.
it's one of a number of things.
Right,
Like the Pauper Rocco deck has almost no interaction, right? But
right.
that's not doesn't mean it's not built well. That's just like the
How
way.
it goes. Right.
That's just how it
Yeah,
is.
we're talking instead of just talking about like again a rocket to a biplane. We're talking about a sophisticated jet engine, a fighter jet that has all these different components that then work together, like fast mana tutors, interaction, synergies, ramp, draw, that kind of thing,
Yeah,
all
we're
together to make a good airplane.
yeah. If to keep the
Of
same
course,
analogy, we're probably
that,
talking about like a jet. I don't know jets so well, but like I guess I know cars a little bit better. If you take like a stock, like
Honda.
2000 or something, like Mustang GT, right? Because that was the car that I had growing up. And you take like a stock, 2020 Mustang GT, right? More often than not, the 2020 Mustang is going to win that race, right? But if if they miss a shift, or if they get a bad jump, like the the earlier model year Mustang could conceivably win that
Oh,
game,
yeah, yeah.
right? Could win that race. It's not out of the question because it's still a well built car. Like it's still fast. Um, and I think that translates to this that I'm trying to say, right? Like you know a
Like an
Ford, like a
M,
Model
the
T. A
Jet
Model
one, an
T isn't going to
A10
win that race,
No,
right?
it's not well built.
It's not in comparison to like now.
Right. You can put a nitro in a Model T, and it's not
It's
going to
not
do
going
anything.
anywhere. It's just gonna fall apart.
Yeah. All right.
So
One more slide we got here, just for fun. Oh no! Oh no! Oh, I forgot to talk about this, right? So we talked about it a little bit, right, with Sithis being better than Tuvasa. But in my head, I was like, Sithis. So Tuvasa is better than Sithis, but
this
Sithis is better than Adeline. But Adeline is not an eight or a seven, a little worse than a seven. Tuvasa is an eight, but if it's better than Sithis, Sithis isn't an eight either. But Adeline's not
I mean,
worse
maybe
than
this
a
is
seven,
true. Like maybe,
right?
I mean, this could be. Oh, sorry, I'm
Right.
looking at the next one too. Like,
No. So this is all like this is on the X power level scale. What my thought process when I was trying to rank these, right? Tuvasa is the best one. It's an eight, better than Sithis, which just means Sithis is not an eight, which means
well,
it's a seven.
we're mixing our words now, right? We gotta be careful.
Right, but if Adeline isn't as good as Sithis, then it's a six. But I think Adeline's a seven. Oh, pause it for a second. We'll be right back. We'll go to the next slide because then we're going to go and take them up to the y-axis. Yep.
We've got a baby awake. We're dadding. If you're still here, I have some very strong opinions about this stuff because I hate this conversation. I'll play any of my decks versus anybody's decks, and it's more about it's more about you know how you play.
Yes, got him. It's got to plug the hole. Give him a baby.
The
He
Binky
just
Bot.
popped the baby back in his mouth. Got another extra one here because he loses them, and I don't feel like looking in the crib for him, so we have extra ones on hand.
I get it.
So I gave him one of the extra ones. I got a second one. Anyway, so go to the next slide then. I don't know what you were talking about.
I was talking about. I was just rambling to the camera, talking about
But on the
power levels.
y-axis here, we have Tuvasa as an eight. Both Adeline and Sithis are sevens, but Sithis is an eight on the y scale, so above Tuvasa. So it
Because it's
solved my dilemma.
because it's better built. I mean, that could be true. I don't have Tuvasa's deck list in front of me. It's perfectly reasonable that Tuvasa looks like an 8
Right?
when you look at it. But then when you get down to playing it, I know Sithis is just a house. So,
Yeah, it
and
is.
I can regularly beat Tuvasa. So, I don't know, that's
And the
just
win
because it's.
percentages, like if I look at it, I've played Sithis less than Tuvasa this year, but like I don't think I think Sithis hasn't lost a game. I think I'm like either 3 or 4-0 with Sithis, and Tuvasa is like 2-6.
Yeah, no, I know
So
Sithis is a house.
yeah.
You actually have one more of these.
All right, one more. It fixes the seven issue. All of these decks were rated as a seven, but now look at them all. So the Kenrith combo decks all the way up there, the Kenrith Monarch decks all the way down there, right? We rated all these decks as a seven, so they can all be a seven,
They
but on a
can.
goodness but on a goodness scale, they're all different.
Yeah.
So they can all be a seven, but they're all different there.
Now this doesn't really fix anything,
Yes, it does.
right? like like goodness is just as vague as power level.
Right,
But
right. How
but
many
the
tutors, how much fast mana,
the
which
point
kind of
is,
interaction,
yeah,
all these questions are still in the air. How significant is the impact over a good synergy versus a good combo,
right. The
right?
the
So
the point
these are all questions that remain unanswered.
the point is to like move away from saying no combos
Hmm.
or no tutors or no fast mana,
No counter
right?
spells. That's
No
another good
counter
one.
spells.
Right.
Because that I find that to be, I don't know, I don't want
Okay,
to
I
be
just won't
too
play
harsh,
Magic then.
but
Thanks.
I
Yeah.
yeah I find it silly. Let's use a nice word. I find it silly to like
Hmm.
when I read things like that, like one that I read yesterday, not yesterday, a couple days ago was like there was like a tournament where they wanted it to be super casual.
We put
Eh,
super casual and ended at that.
yeah, but they like they wanted it to go to at least turn 10, and you draw most of your deck, and it's very battle cruisery. And then they were like, and it was cool because like the Bilbo life gain deck won. I was like, of course. Like once you strip
You
away,
gave it time enough. Yeah.
yeah, once you strip away everything that like makes life gain bad, which is like combos and like Voltron, because like
Yeah.
Voltron's not battle cruisery. It's gonna accidentally win before turn 10. Like that's just what it does.
So
Like
was
once you,
that like you had to wait till turn 10 to win?
I don't know. I didn't
Or is like
participate in it.
it's
It
the
was just
feeling you
sort of,
want?
yeah, it's just sort of like explaining the vibe in it. And then that they like wrote down that the Bilbo deck won, as if that was some sort of like whoa thing. I'm like, of course. Like you've got a life gain engine in a format where like everybody's winning via combat. Like all you do is play like a bunch of blockers and gain a bunch of life, and then you get to drop your whole deck on the battlefield with Bilbo. Once you've gained enough life, of course that deck won. So like you've just all you've done is you've shifted the discussion. Jeremy, are you frozen? Oh no, I think I lost Jeremy. We lost him. That's a pretty drunk face right there. Look at that face. Look at that face. That's a face only a mother could love. I should message him. I mean, I was on a roll there too. I was really on a roll. Anyway, my Bilbo rant. Um, Once you strip away everything that, like, all they did was change the goalposts, right? There's still an optimal strategy, and this person like took advantage of that. Like they probably won the game like from the jump. You just didn't know it yet. And I'm sure it was fun, and I'm sure everybody had a good time. And I'm not trying to tell people how not to have a good time, but like just because a combo deck didn't win on turn 10 doesn't make that Bilbo deck suddenly fair, right? Like if I had won against that Bilbo deck with any random combo, but I did it um, at a different, but I did it, I don't know, in a fair way, I guess. Like how is that bad or problematic? I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like it's problematic only because you say it is, and I get that. Like, I'm having trouble articulating my point. People don't like playing against combo decks a lot of times because like games end out of nowhere and early and fast, but that doesn't have to be true. You can win with a combo deck after having a perfectly entertaining game. If everybody's deck is built well, right? If you can stop me from comboing on turn 6 and then I have to rebuild, like now it's turn 10 and maybe I can try again, or maybe I had to change my game plan, right? Like a lot of my combos use a creature, and if you hit it with Path of Exile, like I need to go to my backup plan, and that's going to take time. So that's really what I'm trying to say. We used a lot of words, right? So I'm of the opinion that discussing power levels is silly for the most part. Like you can really solve everything just by saying this is casual or this is a pre-con, right? And I'm not gonna play grist, right? Like that's fine. We don't have to get down to like we don't have to be like, oh, we don't play combos. We don't play man with fast mana. Like I know like if you say it's casual and some random bro shows up and just goes like mana crypt signet, like we can all agree that that person is a problem. Like we can agree that that's probably an issue. But that doesn't mean it is necessarily. Like you would think it is. You would be like, "Oh, but then maybe they're just playing cats." And they're ahead now, but you can beat a mana crypt and a soul ring with some removal if the deck is just cats. And I think that's I think trying to over police it actually makes it more confusing, right? Like it makes it harder to come to an agreement, right? Because now we're like, okay, well, what's a combo? Are we talking about like all infinite combos? Can I play an 8 card combo? Like there might be a combo in your deck that you don't even know about until you like run into it. Um, can I play an Urza Saga if my deck doesn't have Soul Ring? Can I do that? Like, is that okay? Like, if I'm not searching up Soul Ring, if I'm searching up like a Relic of Progenitus, like, is that fine? Is Relic of Progenitus fine at all? Because I had a conversation about graveyard removal being a problem because there's a lot of decks at the lower power levels that use their graveyard so much, and somebody might just not be able to have fun if you exile their graveyard, so at that point the over policing has created a more of an issue, right? My deck with Urza Saga that's getting Relic of Progenitus could still be a casual deck, right? And your deck that exclusively uses its graveyard probably should not do that, right? You should probably have more than one plan. And it's like one of the earlier things that Jeremy touched on was that you're responsible for your own fun too, right? If you want to have a good time, like you have to build a deck that can actually compete at your power level, right? If you want to play a casual game, you still have to build a deck that can compete casually. You don't just get to do your thing because you call it casual or because you call it 5 or precon. Like you don't just get a pass. Like the precons can do some insane things. Like I don't know. I don't feel crazy for saying a lot of this, but you know, I'm led to believe that some of my opinions are crazy. Um, so that's I don't know. Maybe there's more questions than answers there. Hit me with a comment if you think I'm an idiot. Um, this is mostly for silliness, right? Like, I mean, it's to articulate a point that like a good deck can compete with a higher power deck, and if you want to guarantee your play experience, then you got to build better decks, and it's not a budget thing. You know, it's not a try hard thing. You just got to build a better deck, man. Like just put a little effort into it. You know, a lot of times these casual decks, like they just like, oh, I want to do this cool thing and this cool thing and this cool thing, and then the deck's full, and they're like, well, I can't cut any of these cool things. I'm like, well, you should. If you cut some of these cool things, you might actually get to do them more often, and that's all I got. That's like I could talk for like hours more about this. Um, so yeah, so if you've made it this far, which seems crazy, um, this is my this is my hill to die on. Um, you tell me I'm nuts, I won't mind. Take it. I'll take it all to heart. I promise. Hit me with a comment, follow. Um, I'd appreciate it. Jeremy would too. I'll let him know. His computer decided to crap out, and Discord gave up on him apparently. But we got a solid 2 or 3 minutes of that phase um, to look at. So, all right, we didn't get to the universe and everything part of this conversation. Babies are doing well. We lost Jeremy for a couple of minutes. His kid spits out his binky and starts crying in the middle of the night. So he's got to go. That's what he meant by plug the hole. Um, my kid is sleeping soundly, which is nice. She doesn't always. Oh, he lost his internet. He must have. He got hit by a storm. It's getting a little stormy out here on the East Coast, so yeah. I'm not as good at the sign off as he is. He's a pretty excitable guy. I'm not so much excitable, so. Um, but I would like to hear thoughts. You know, I know I've called people's opinions silly, and it's just some strongly held beliefs. I don't mind having a discussion. Um, in fact, I'd love to have a discussion about power level because I just like playing Magic. I don't. I've never given a crap about the power level of somebody's deck. Right? I'm gonna tell you exactly what I'm playing. Like I always. So like I only have one or two decks at a time. I take them apart constantly and rebuild them. Right? And I'm gonna tell you. Like I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna tell you what I'm playing right away. There's not even gonna be discussion. I'm playing Grist or I'm playing. What do I got here? I got Ratted Drabic next to me. That's what I'm playing. I'm playing it. It does have combos. It does have tutors. But I mean, it's still kind of like slow and silly, you know. Um, if you want to play against it, cool. If you're playing at a five, like I'm perfectly capable of adjusting my playstyle. Like Grist has the Magecraft Chain of Smog combo in it. That's like a CEDH level combo, right? But the guys that I've brought up a couple of times during this conversation, they're not playing at that power level. So I'm not gonna do that combo. I'm just not gonna do it. Right? Like Magecraft by itself is fair. Magecraft with Chain of Smog is not fair. Chain of Smog is a fun card to just throw out there. Chain of Smog with Magecraft is very good. So I just don't do it. And suddenly my deck is fair. Right? Suddenly we have a good game. Right? And they said like when I shuffled up and they're like, oh yeah, we don't play with combos or whatever. I just didn't combo. I ended up winning that game. I didn't combo off. Right? I slowly killed people, slowly drained them with braids and a couple of other attacks, and then I played a big meat hook massacre, swept the board, did a bunch of damage to everybody. It was cool. It was fair. It was fun. I had a great game with my 8 against their 4s. Like it's people get so caught up in 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 making it fair that it becomes like almost unfun and weird. Like I'm playing to win, but I'm also playing to have a good time. It's possible. Jeremy's back.
You've been here the whole time?
Yeah, I've been ranting. We're still live.
Okay. I told you to sign off without me. The internet went down, and it still says on my phone that I'm connected without internet. But
I was just trying to sum it all up, trying to sum up my thoughts with some
I'm
silence, and
sure.
I was talking. I was just talking about how like the conversation about power level oftentimes just adds confusion. Like just
Hmm.
it makes it worse. Like having the conversation. Like just play the
Sometimes.
game. Like just play the
Yes,
game.
play the deck if
Like
it becomes upsetting or you realize it's way too strong.
if
Play a
some
second game decks.
yeah, if somebody is if somebody's like saying their deck is casual and they're just pub stomping people, like that's not a problem with the power level of the deck. That's a problem with that person. That's like a personal problem. Like just don't
Hmm.
play with them. Like if I sit down with Grist and you say you're playing a precon, like I'm just gonna play Grist differently. Like I can perfectly capable of playing my deck that you might call an 8 or a 9 in a way that's fair. Like
Good point.
I was
I like to
saying,
play Adam differently.
yeah, I mean it doesn't work for every deck,
Some you don't. Yeah, some you can't.
but
But no,
like
yeah. But if I sit down and I'm playing Adeline and it stomps and like sometimes Adeline's like the weakest deck I bring though, right? Like it's
yeah. Well, I was saying like I only ever have like maybe 2 decks on me, right? Like
yeah.
that's just sort of
I'll bring like three to the store.
yeah.
Um, but
And like I was saying, like the Magecraft combo is a CEDH level combo, right?
you just don't cast that spell if you're
I
playing against
just
someone.
don't. Just don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the deck's perfectly capable of winning a fair game of Magic. If we're playing a lower power level, I play it like it's a lower power level deck.
And if the game lasted an hour, then you're matched up fine.
Yeah, then I'm just
And then the game ends after an hour.
we play again.
Like play again. And then that should have been a good game at that point. Like an hour long game, unless you sat there did nothing because you got bad draws, which could happen to anybody in any
Yeah,
deck.
we lost him again. All right, he was backing up my point, but yeah, that pretty much sums it up. You just you know, people have the conversation to like limit confusion or to make it fair, but it kind of makes it harder. And really, a lot of the problems are solved by people just not acting a certain way, which you can't help, right? You can't numbers it away, right? And you can't just like over police it away. If somebody wants to pub stomp, they're gonna pub stomp, and you just don't play with that person, right? This conversation is having it is silly. Like it shouldn't be any more than like this is my deck, and I say this is my deck, and then we play a game of Magic. Like that's it. So I'm gonna know right away what level of Magic we're playing. And if I go first, then I go turn one Mana Crypt, and you're like, we're not playing like that. Then you're back. Then maybe that he's gone again, crazy guy, and maybe I accidentally pub stop the first game, but then from that point on, you figure it out. You know, you're not gonna be able to like math it. You're back. You're just being weird.
Yeah, I'm just trying to move because I was not back for a little bit. It stopped again. Kind of comparing myself,
All right,
making sure that
do your sign off. Do it quick. You're still here.
the sign off. So we did a little bit of universe and everything in the beginning with some controversial topics. Yeah. Uh, we got our magic in. We'll probably give some updates on the Schmoody Booties here next time because there are some updates, and I could talk for an hour and a half just on the Schmoody Booty. What the little bastard's doing? Love him so much. Um, but that's it. That's our power level. If you like subscribe, you like what we're talking about, want to hear more, want to look at our videos. I know we got some deck techs in the bank. We're gonna have an in-depth discussion on Enchantress and enchantment decks here eventually at some point when we have time. Hopefully, it's not a month and a half between videos next time. It's not because we thought we did some musings recently. This one's probably gonna get posted, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks from now, maybe a week, maybe tomorrow, who knows? When we have time.
Whenever I feel
Um,
like it. Yeah.
whenever Scott feels like it. But subscribe, follow, take a listen, put your thoughts in the chat in the comments if you disagree wholeheartedly with us. If you like this XYZ discussion, talk about it at your local game store. Get it out there. Let's make this the new thing because it fixes it. I don't care what Scott says. It fixes it. Um, Other than that, you guys have a good rest of your day. Whenever you listen to this, have a good rest of your day. See you next time.
Peace.